pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could we remain standing just for a moment and have a silent moment for the Virginia Beach residents, the victims, and the families of the tragedy that seems all too often happening, way more than we need. And this particular one, I think, comes home to us because it was a city, it was employees. 11 employees were killed. So if we could have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Here.
Dempsey.
Here.
Ford.
Here.
Fournier.
Here.
Crop.
Here.
Menser.
Here. Can I have a motion to excuse Commissioner Button?
Motion to excuse Commissioner Button.
Support.
Roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Okay, announcements, acknowledgements, and communications and reports. And this evening, I'm pleased to say that we have our representative, Mr. Sowerby here from give us some legislative updates, what's happening in Lansing. So please come forth.
Thank you, Mayor Dempsey, and hello, City Commissioners and staff. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you. How would you like me to do this?
Whatever
Present, or
you're
do you
comfortable
want-
with doing.
Do you want, I'm open to people asking questions as I'm presenting, however you
That's
want me
fine.
to do it.
Whichever way you
Okay.
feel comfortable with.
I'm Bill Sowerby, the state rep for District 31 here in Mount Clemens, Clinton Township, and Fraser. As many of you know, I'm in my second term as your state rep. Prior to that, I was the treasurer of Clinton Township and a county commissioner. So, there's 110 state reps and a interesting mix of 58, 52, more Republicans than Democrats. So we have an interesting mix of issues that we're dealing with constantly in the legislature in Lansing. The state Senate is 22 to 16, so again, interesting mix. And with the new governor in there, it's created new dynamics as we're working on the issues to solve these issues here in the state. I serve as the minority vice chairman of Natural Resources Committee. I also serve on the Education Committee, and I also serve on Local Government and Municipal Finance as well. All these are policy committees, so please, if any of those issues are dear to your heart, like local government, please, reach out. We have some very interesting things that even affect, right here in Macomb County with some of the legislation. So I'll start off first with the governor's budget proposal. So for this next fiscal year, there's debate going on right now. As she put it just a couple weeks ago, if this was a baseball game, they're just in the second inning. So there's a lot of discussion that's still occurring on that budget. Top on her list, and I saw some of you at the luncheon today at the Chamber of Commerce where she spoke, is of course fixing the roads. And she has proposed the 45-cent gas tax increase and presented a pretty compelling argument as she makes this presentation as to what that means and what it frees up for the rest of the budget. Nobody really wants to pay 45 cents for a gas tax by any means, but with what she has presented with other savings and hardworking families' pockets, like tripling the earned income tax credit, looking at ways to repeal the pension tax, things of that sort, help small business with certain deductions. She's coming to some of that. So it's part of the discussion, and it's like making sausage. You don't want to see it made, but the end product can be quite wonderful, and this is still happening there in Lansing. So the Appropriations Committee is working with her and trying to hammer this out. As she has stated, and even stated today, don't expect, usually there's a recess in the summer for the legislature. Don't count on that. She wants to get this done and work through it, so that's what our job is, and that's what we expect to get done. Part of the problem that she's faced with her budget, which is a $60 billion budget, is also how to make this happen. And so the legislature did what I felt was a disservice to her ability to be able to come in and start her job with feet on the ground running with some funding available to her to get things accomplished, like fixing the roads. But in lame duck last year, we all know what lame duck is, took place in December, they passed a supplemental $1.3 billion with a B budget. It was the highest supplemental bill ever passed in the House, and it happened in the wee hours of the very last day of session. We were handed this $1.3 billion supplemental. It had all kinds of pork in it. It was a bad bill overall, and it was also robbing Governor Whitmer of having real ability to put priorities into her administration and make things work, like roads, education, and so on. And it passed at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning, the last day of session, after we'd been up for almost 24 hours working on that day. I voted no on it, and there were a handful of Republicans and Democrats that voted no, and my reason was it had this terrible pork. It did nothing to really help cities, help with revenue sharing, and it was giving special projects to people's little pet projects. But mostly it harmed what I think was important to fixing this state. So that took money right away from the governor. Something else that she is proposing in her budget is a fix that will provide additional revenue sharing for communities. You know, as the former treasurer of Clinton Township, I know how much that revenue sharing meant to all of us. And as a city like Mount Clemens, you know it's important. So she's proposed a 3% increase in statutory revenue sharing, in addition to a 3.2% increase in constitutional revenue sharing. So I'll continue to advocate for those kinds of increases so that communities can do more than, you know, suffering the consequences of having to cut budgets, things of that sort, because there isn't additional dollars. Other budget proposals she's come through with is putting $120 million in to improve our water conditions. So water infrastructure is extremely important. You have infrastructure issues right here in Mount Clemens. So she's proposing that. Approximately $37.5 million would be dedicated to support lead and copper rule implementation expenses for local water systems, like replacing leaded pipes, things of that sort within communities. She's also proposing $30 million to address the PFAS issue, and many of you know what that is. We have it right here in the Clinton River, off the shore of Selfridge Air National Guard Base in Lake St. Clair. It is an awful situation across the state. We have to address it. We have this chemical in our bodies right now, but some have it far worse. We can't be the Great Lakes state and have this sort of thing to continue to, you know, happen. We've got to figure out a way to clean it up, and she has a proposal on that. Also, $40 million for drinking water revolving fund, which is forgiveness for local water systems, and it's used to improve water systems, green infrastructure, and energy efficiency. So again, this budget is still being discussed, but we're hoping that we can find some bipartisan support to make that happen. A couple months ago, I reached out to you, Mayor, and a couple of the commissioners and your administration about proposals that you might have that we can introduce in the appropriations process. And so at this point here, you submitted budget requests including funding for a water treatment plant, Riverfront Park, Parks and Recreation, Fire Department issues, Department of Public Services, and street and infrastructure process. So I've been advocating for that with my appropriations budget vice chair and the subcommittees to try to get that through. I'm making no promises. Every other community across the street is asking for dollars, but we feel that maybe there's a good chance, so we continue to advocate for some of these requests to happen. So I'll keep you posted as this process continues on. I also submitted recently a letter of support for the Mount Clemens Natural Resources Trust Fund application for the funding of the Jones Street reconfiguration, which would improve accessibility for MacArthur Park kayak launch, which always important to have great recreation access and to our wonderful Clinton River. So we're continuing to work on that. Couple bills that I've introduced, I'll run by you. I've recently introduced a bill that would repeal what I call repeal the steal. And that was what happened last term. There was a ballot proposal. It was one fair wage. And the gatherers of that ballot proposal had gotten nearly 400,000 signatures on a petition drive to put on the ballot to raise the minimum wage. And they actually got not only enough, they had well more than enough, but it was approved by the Secretary of State and was approved by the Board of Canvassers of the state, and it was going on the ballot in November. So when an issue can go on the ballot, there is allowable in the Constitution that the state legislature can take up the issue and approve that ballot proposal. So the House approved it and the Senate approved it in September. Many of us knew that things were amiss when they did that, and they had no intention of ever letting that increase in minimum wage actually happen. And sure as heck, in lame duck, after the election was done and the voters didn't have a chance to vote on that issue, they repealed what they approved in September. And so therefore a lot of hardworking families, a lot of hardworking individuals working in the service industry, restaurants, minimum wage jobs did not get that expected increase in their wages come January 1st. I've introduced a bill to repeal that, and it's gotten a lot of support so far. We'll see what happens with that. But in reality, what that would have done was given people an additional $10,000 in their pocket over the 4-year period of time that that minimum wage would have increased. That was basically stolen from them, and facts show that economics, you put more money into people's pockets, they're going to add to the economy. That doesn't happen now. The other bill that I've introduced is mandatory kindergarten. I told you I serve on the Education Committee. What we're finding in Lansing is that our children are falling further and further behind in our education system. We are dead last in the country in literacy proficiency by the 4th grade, and we continue to have these struggles. We have a law that was passed in 2015 that will have a 3rd grade mandatory reading requirement starting this coming school year in September, and that every child will have to take this test. We know that literacy is not working in the state. Many, many children will fail this test, and that's not fair to those children, fair to their families. We're hoping that they'll repeal that. Not that a 3rd grade reading requirement wasn't a good thing, but they didn't provide the resources to get those children to have successful outcomes on that test. And so as a result, we're not getting anywhere. My mandatory kindergarten requirement would be that we are starting our kids earlier with learning how to read. Wouldn't cost the state much of anything. Most school districts do have kindergarten, but it's just not mandatory like 1st through 12th grade. And so this would make it mandatory. We need to get a handle on the literacy issue and teaching our kids earlier. Studies show that there is great successes all through their education years and on into their working years if they've actually gone to kindergarten. So it's an important issue I believe we have to work on. Lastly, with one of the bills I've introduced is dealing with payday lenders. So we know in a lot of our communities, especially economically challenged communities, that payday lenders have success in attracting people and economically challenged people to come and borrow small amounts of money or cash their paychecks, things of that sort, at these places. They end up charging nearly 360% for that loan. You can't take out more than $600 loan at any one time at any payday lending institution, but 360%. I mean, that's, they called 40, 50% in the old days loan sharking. This is 360%, and it's legal. And the state actually approved that in 2005. It's a failed test. People are getting harmed by it. My bill would cap it at 36%, which is the federal military service lending rate that the federal government applies to military personnel. It's something that other states have also passed, and so it would cap it at that, and it would help people who have economic challenges keep more money in their pocket instead of continuing this vicious cycle of continuing to pay and never getting ahead. So that has had bipartisan support as well. And then lastly, I would like to talk about the elephant in the room, which I think a lot of us hopefully are pleased about what happened, and that is the auto no-fault insurance that we passed a couple weeks ago. So not perfect, but if we waited for perfect, we would never get anything done. So better that we had something like this get done. It's something that's been discussed for roughly 30 to 40 years, and it took a lot of effort of the governor, of leadership in both the House and the Senate, and all the reps and senators to approve it. Basically what it does is it starts July 1st of 2020, and it will have options to keep your current unlimited health care coverage if you so choose, but it also offers tiers for your health care coverage, which is your catastrophic care, and you can take $500,000, $250,000, or $50,000 if you're a driver that's under Medicaid. It also allows drivers on Medicare would qualify for an opt-out and not be required to purchase an additional insurance rider. Unlimited coverage would see a 10% savings from your personal injury protection. If you had $500,000, it reduces it by 20%. Now, mind you, this is the personal injury protection portion of your premium. $250,000 reduces it by 35%. $50,000 reduces it by 45%, or a total opt-out would be 100%. What's important is DIFS, that's the Department of Insurance and Finance Services, will have more say-so over the insurance industry, and watching over that. Also has a lot of protections over the catastrophic fund and the managing of that and the transparency of that catastrophic fund. Important things is you can no longer use non-driving factors, discriminatory non-driving factors in calculating premiums. So zip codes are gone, your credit score is no longer an issue, your education is no longer an issue, marital status, gender, all those things have been outlawed. That should also help to save dollars. So the important thing is that we will continue to monitor this. There may be tweaks in the coming years, but it is a huge, I feel, victory for the state and for the drivers as far as possibly saving some very serious dollars overall. And then lastly, I do have coffee hours on a regular basis. I invite all of you and anybody from the listening public to attend those. I circle them in the Clinton Township at the South Branch of the Clinton Macomb Library, at the Fraser Library, and right here at the Mount Clemens Library. In fact, I've got a coffee hour coming up on Monday, June 17th at the Mount Clemens Library from 10:30 a.m. till noon. And I welcome anybody to come, and we have a great discussion, and I update you on issues that are happening in Lansing. And I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Commissioner Ford?
Oh, ladies first.
Okay, Commissioner Fournier.
Thank you, and I'm really anxious to see the results of the Insurance Act. That's been one of the biggest things I think that's been hanging over our heads. But the next biggest is the roads. And, you know, that 45% gas tax, I think there are a lot of people out there that would support that and would, give you that feedback. But the frightening thing to me is exactly how that's going to be used and whether it will be used for the roads and what roads will get fixed. And I asked a question today at the luncheon about the local roads and would there be any sharing on that. And I was disappointed that she kind of dodged that question. Rather than say, no, we're not going to help you, or yes, we will help you, it was sort of a, well, you'll get this revenue sharing and you'll get this and you'll get that. But I really would like clarity as to exactly how that's going to be used and if there are any programs that can help with our local roads. Because if you're part of the local government and municipal finance committee, you know there's no money here for the local roads as when you look at the cost of doing that. And we need some sort of help to get that done because these roads are they're falling apart.
And I'm happy to get back with you on that. There is, as the governor stated today, an interactive map that you can see exactly where she prioritizes the spending. It doesn't mean that cities and villages won't continue to get those dollars to help work on your local roads, unlike townships where I had spent 28 years where we don't get those dollars, the county does, and now you're struggling for, you know, your mix of those dollars. Cities like Mount Clemens have been struggling, and your dollars have gone down over the last 15 years for lots of different reasons.
Right.
So to your point of if there is this increase, what will it mean to Mount Clemens? And I'll certainly be happy to get back to you.
Thank you.
Her interactive map is very real. If this happens, you'll see some improvements to the roads here in Mount Clemens, but if you're talking about the side streets, things of that sort, it'll be that mix of regular dollars that had always come in, which isn't always enough, and that's why millages get imposed, things of that sort, and then you're just passing it on to your, taxpayers, and that gets tough. It gets very tough. We see that all the time in Clinton Township when trying to get local roads done, and they can only do it through a special assessment project, and that gets harmful on hardworking families. So
Very
I'll get back
harmful,
to you on that.
especially at the level of property taxes that we're at. So
Yes,
it,
absolutely.
some relief there, some help there with the local roads would be greatly appreciated. Thank
Just
you.
to piggyback on that,
Yes.
it is, I mean, the local roads, but it's the infrastructure underneath that I'm very much concerned about. This city's 200 years old. Some of that infrastructure is really bad, and once you start with a road, you have to work underneath. And so I think it's more of a dual,
Good point, yeah.
a dual concern. The roads absolutely, but the infrastructure underneath is just as bad. So again, we don't get a lot of money for that. And I know you're well aware, I've talked to you about this before, 48% of our property is not taxable. We're the county seat. I have talked to so many legislators up there at different times. What can be done, if anything, for communities like Mount Clemens, who are the county seat, who have so much property that is not taxable that we can't collect anything on, and the rest of the residents have to pick it up, whether it's through revenue sharing, whether it's through, I don't have the answers. I look for the answers going forth, and I know we brought it up even at the federal level. There has to be other communities in Michigan that are having the same problems that we are. So I don't know if there's anything that can be done, if there can be some, think tanking going on, some just talking to other communities to help, because it's just gets tougher and tougher for us to do anything
with the lack of, and we can't go to the residents any longer. They helped us out a couple of years ago, but that's it, so,
And if I can respond.
yes, you may.
And it's a double-edged sword for a city like Mount Clemens. You like, in many respects, like having county services here, the employees that it brings in. They oftentimes do go out into the community, to the restaurants, shopping, things of that sort. But then at the same time, you don't have the taxation. I remember when I was a county commissioner, and I remember when the city and many of the leaders of the city business and other leaders came to us wanting to keep the new administration building down here. And it meant, taking up taxable space and building versus moving it out to the Dunham Road site at the Verkulen Center. And that was the big debate. I supported what the city leaders wanted back then. It was the right thing to do. And much of the argument was for keeping those employees down here. So it gets to be a double-edged sword on, the pitfalls of when you have so much non-taxable property. One thing that, you and I have spoken about is, payment in lieu of taxes. When in Clinton Township, we had a case of that. Everybody remembers the Grosse Points Clinton Refuse Disposal Authority. And back in the day, the supervisor, I believe, was Mark Cole, negotiated with that authority, which was a quasi-governmental authority, to make a payment in lieu of taxes to support the township services that were provided. I think it was like, to the tune back then was like around $200,000. And that was, significant to help support. Maybe those kind of discussions can happen with the county and payment in lieu of taxes. Those do happen, but, county doesn't want to give things up.
Right.
And there isn't anything in the law that requires them to.
Well,
but-
I think that's what I was getting at.
Yeah.
There's nothing there that we can count on, to back us up on that stuff. And you're right, I would, at the time, those leaders, which I was not involved in that, did want the county down, but so much has changed over the years. The county, the people don't get out and use this, downtown as much as they used to. They have their own cafeteria, which is supplemented, which by the county. So they don't go out into the restaurants. So things have changed over that time, and I'm saying whatever.
Revenue sharing has dropped so much.
Right, revenue sharing.
Compared to 25 years ago.
So, but
Yes.
anyway, I appreciate that you
absolutely.
listen, and anything that you can do be helpful.
Sure.
I'm sorry, Mr. Ford.
Today at the luncheon, I seen a map that showed the bad roads. Is that correct? Well, Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb County have more automobiles than anybody in the state. Will our roads get fixed first, or are we just whatever?
So what the governor did state was there was going to be priorities placed on the heavy residential counties like Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, Kent County, places like that for the spending. The Public Act 51 disperses the dollars. She's doing a different process to give attention and provide additional dollars to the populated areas like the Tri-County area here. But Public Act 51 also limits how those dollars oftentimes get dispersed, and it's dispersed by lane miles, linear miles, not lane miles. So in the heavy populated areas, when you have to repave a 5-lane road, that mile of dollars goes a lot less further than a 2-lane road up north. And so the mix, as you heard, is, and we've tried this in Lansing, and I've co-sponsored bills regarding this, but you can't get the bipartisan support from the outlying legislators that will agree to taking up this issue because it's taking money out of their rural districts. And we all know when we drive up north, we see how nice those roads are. And they repave them far more often because they're given the dollars versus we would love to have that money here. And so as a result, Public Act 51 may likely not ever get changed unless there is a whole swoop of different legislators that come in the next 2 or 4 years. But in the meantime, the governor has assured us that there is a different type of formula she can use, so when those dollars are raised, they can go to populated areas like ours.
Commissioner Menzer?
I'm really thankful for your push to have kindergarten be mandatory, but what I'm also really interested in is some kind of educational dollars given to kids who are graduating from high school, whether they use it at a college or a community college, or whether they use it at a training program for the IBEW Local 58, or they use it operating engineers 324. Those are very good jobs and good skills. And so I'm really would like to see some kind of educational dollars given to kids as they graduate.
And that's a bold vision that the governor has made a priority, about in her State of the State address back in February, continues to speak to it. It's what other states are doing, and it helps to keep our youth here. And so it may need some massaging here and there. Maybe certain conditions can be placed on those who, take it, are going to commit to staying in the state, taking jobs in the state if those jobs are available, things of that sort. But we know that our youth is really hurting in the debt that they walk out of college with. And this would certainly help with that, because we aren't seeing them with the economic stakes in our community with buying homes and investing, because they just don't have the dollars like when we were growing up and had those opportunities. So I think that's a bold vision on her part that I support.
Anyone else? Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And updating us. It's always good. Please come back.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think we should clap.
Okay. Oh, do we have any other meetings or anything?
Just
Announcements?
the beautification committee will meet tomorrow on June 4th at 7 p.m. here at City Hall. The zoning board of appeals meeting scheduled for tomorrow and the planning commission meeting scheduled for tomorrow, June 4th, have both been canceled.
Okay. Thank you.
Did you not
Adoption
hear
of the agenda, please. I need a motion.
Move to adopt the agenda as presented.
Support.
Roll call.
Dempsey,
Yes.
Ford,
Yes.
Fournier,
Yes.
Crop,
Yes.
Menzer,
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Okay, public participation. This is the time that you may address this body. All we ask is that you give us your name, address, and adhere to the 3-minute rule. Mic's open. Don't fight.
Gloria Haller, 260 Cass. To pick up on tail end, what you were talking about, money. City income tax, I mean, I gotta keep saying, it's like nobody's listening. Maybe we'll, all that usage the county's making of the city. They got last time I checked, $33.6 million payroll. Get yourself at least half of 1% of that. You'll be in better shape than you are now. But I know it's going to be hard to get it passed here because all of you on this commission, it isn't hard to figure, benefit by having a property tax increase, which you slip by us and put through, as opposed to it's much cheaper for you to pay that than it would be to pay an income tax. And, screw the rest of us that are going to get really hurt by having to pay the property tax. Whereas, anyway, you know the story and you know what you're doing, and I know well as you do. And when you're finally going to cop to it, let me know. Now, I would like an explanation in public, maybe in this forum, taped, where Ms. Fournier, who has some background in business and numbers, and I and some other people that can watch it on TV, if not here, I'd like an explanation of that last pay increase, the way that Lisa Borges, it was done for her. I listened to it in one of the pre-meetings. It was a little murky. And I'd like it explained so Ms. Fournier can get it, and if anybody needs to, then she can explain it further, because it didn't sound real good to me. I'm going to pass my next topic, and I'm going to lay on this city manager matter. Both of the quasi-city managers are getting, thanks to our 5% millage increase reamed out of us. They are both getting their base pay plus their extra pay being city manager. Remember when that went through, City Attorney Murray talked about what a sterling job they were doing, give them a price increase. Well, when I tried to FOIA for that, I was able to get Jeff's information. Lisa wouldn't give me hers. I let it slide. That's a FOIA violation. But anyway, didn't want us to know what they were making extra. In addition, as quasi-city managers, they both get an automobile allowance, a couple thou, maybe a little more than that. They both get a cell phone. In addition, their administrative assistants, Becky for the one and Kathy for the other, they got a little jump in their pay because their own boss's time is being tied up. There's Benny, and I had the papers right there, don't question me on it, there's been a little creep up in legal expenses. And incidentally, most recently, and it was in that budget, and I looked at it and went, what? And that's what I'm asking about. I'm right back where I started. In her role as city manager, Ms. Borgas gave herself a rather nice pay increase as city clerk, which she can do.
Thank
but
you
that's
very
kinda
much.
smarmy, don't you think?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Our money that way.
Hello, Carl Hay, 540 Clean River Drive. Actually, just want to extend some thanks. That's why I'm here today. On behalf of those who supported Mount Clemens High School Athletics Program and Boosters Club, the Friends of Mount Clemens, and our contacts were Steve and George for the booth location at the car show that they allowed the kids to use, and all those who stopped by the booth on the 1st while they were enjoying the car show. I would also like to thank the Rec Bowl, Shane Giannino with Q-Stride, and the participants who all participated at the event that was held at the Rec Bowl. That was greatly appreciated, the money that was raised. On behalf of the Study Hall to Ball program, which I am a part of at the Jermaine Jackson Center, we would like to thank the center as well as Artist Music for their donations and Laura Crop for her donations to our cause. We'd also like to thank the Optimist Club for a lot of the work that they've been doing around the city with us. And we also have 2 Junior Optimist Club members that would like to say something.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Don Williams, 58 Orchard Street,
My name is Stephanie Petty, 38 Clare Street.
and I'm the president of the Junior Optimist Club.
I'm secretary.
On April 24th, a vote was placed by the Mount Clemens School Board to not renew our principal's contract. Despite the great support from staff, students, and also parents from the Mount Clemens community, the board still voted 5-1 to not renew Joe Gibson's contract. On April 25th, nearly 400 students from Mount Clemens High walked out of class in an organized fashion which gained attention from multiple news outlets and, more importantly, turned heads in our own community. With the peaceful protest, we realized the power held in numbers. And since then, we have decided to start a Junior Optimist Club that focuses on continuing to turn heads in the community and ultimately increasing the numbers in our school. The community's interest in Mount Clemens High School has steadily declined in the last few years, and one of our main goals is to change that and have a voice in our community as well as our school. We do volunteer projects and participate in local events so that we can change the perspective that the community has on Mount Clemens High School. The city of Mount Clemens has over 16,000 residents, yet roughly only 400 students enrolled in the high school. If we can find a way to draw the community back into the high school, then and only then will we finally gain the voice that our club is fighting for. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I don't know about y'all, that kind of hit me a little bit. Thomas Barnes, 291 Jones Street, Mount Clemens. I would like to get up here and personally say a whole bunch of positive as well. Because it's easy to talk about the negative and all of the bad things that happen in our city and not shine a big enough light on all of the great things that do happen here. I would like to give a huge thank you to Jeff Wood and Barb Dempsey for the part they played in our community cleanup. We were able to take down the trees and all of the debris that was at the basketball court that is on the corner of Jones and Orchard Street. During our time, we had over 70 volunteers, fathers, community members were out there. We had a lady come out and donate food for all the kids that were playing basketball that day. Dads were coming out with saws and hacksaws and hatchets to help us cut down all of this debris. Barb and Jeff arranged for the city to come and pick up all of the trees and the things that we were able to cut down and clean out this area. One of the residents came and spoke to us and said the sidewalk that we unearthed hadn't been seen by anybody in that community in over 30 years. It was so long that people forgot that it was an actual alleyway that led to the park that used to be there. So, I mean, for us to have taken on that cost of having to get a tree company to come out and chop up all of this wood that we cut down, and there were so many different groups that were at play here. Journey Church brought up a group of student volunteers from Boonville, Mississippi. These kids got out there and worked through the muck and the mud and the wet rain soaked grass to get this thing done. We had the Junior Optimist Club played a part in it. The Mount Clemens Athletic Program played a part in it. Our group, American Youth Group, like, it was just such a community rally behind this project to actually see so much positive happen in a place that has a reputation for being so negative. And I would also like to thank Mr. Wood for bringing us 2 new garbage cans out to the basketball court so that we can maintain the cleanliness of the court that we are working so hard to rehab. And as a side note for all of you, the basketball coach at the community center came up to me the other day, not only congratulating us on what we've been able to do with the study hall to ball program, but also on the immense number of children that he's seen playing at this basketball court again. At one point, this court was deemed as unsafe by the neighborhood. People wouldn't send their children to play there anymore because of all of the nefarious activity. But now, after the kids leave study hall to ball, there's, on any given day, there's 40 or 50 kids outside, no iPhones, no iPads, actually playing basketball together, meeting one another, and just being kids again. And I think that is a true testament, in addition to what Mr. Williams said, to bring our community back.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Administrative, we didn't have any. No administrative responses. I need a motion to approve the minutes from previous meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from the May 20, 2019 meeting.
Support?
Roll call?
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes. Okay, general business, 9A, request to name MacArthur Park Kayak Launch. I need a motion.
Move to approve the request of the Mount Clemens Rotary Club to name the MacArthur Park Kayak Launch in honor of the late Neil E. Dempsey.
Support.
The Mount Clemens Rotary Club has requested that the new kayak launch at MacArthur Park be named as a tribute to the late Neil E. Dempsey, past president of the club and one of their most highly respected members. Mr. Dempsey was also well regarded for all of his efforts and years of community service. The Mount Clemens Rotary Foundation has been a vital partner in this community for 100 years, as they have served as a major supporter of this project.
Okay. I'm going to abstain. Go ahead.
You know what, I just had a question of, what are we actually going to name it? Is it going to be the Neil E. Dempsey Memorial Kayak Launch, or is it going to be the MacArthur and Dempsey Kayak Launch?
I don't know.
I just wondered what the name was going to be.
I don't know.
I thought it was
That'll-
Neil E. Dempsey.
I think the intent is that just the kayak launch would be named after
Yeah.
Mr. Dempsey.
I would think MacArthur Park
Yes,
is
MacArthur
separate.
Park is separate, just the kayak launch itself.
Okay.
And their request in their letter dated May 24th, I think, makes that clear. They're just asking that the kayak launch be named in Mr. Dempsey's honor.
So it will be the Neil E. Dempsey Memorial Kayak Launch. Okay.
Anyone else? Okay, roll call.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey's abstained. Ford.
Yes.
9B, request approval to enter into an agreement for building official, building inspector, and mechanical inspection services for 2020 fiscal year. Need a motion?
Move to approve the agreement for inspector services between the City of Mount Clemens and Matthew M. Berman, and to authorize the mayor and city clerk to execute the same.
Support.
Matthew M. Berman will provide building official, building inspection, and mechanical inspection services and shall receive an annual fee of $68,000 and be paid bi-weekly for said services. With City Commission approval, the one-year contract shall become effective July 1st, 2019, and expire on June 30th, 2020. The contract has been reviewed by the city attorney and the contractor.
Comments, questions? Commissioner Menser?
I understand as an independent contractor, we can't dictate Mr. Berman's hours of work. But what I would really like to see is some evening hours and some Saturdays to make it easier for the residents who work.
Okay. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
No.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Okay. 9C, request approval to enter into an agreement for rental inspection services for 2020 fiscal year. Need a motion?
Motion to approve the agreement for inspector services between the City of Mount Clemens and Michael Air Farron, and to authorize the mayor and the city clerk to execute the same.
Support.
Michael L. Farron will provide rental inspection services and shall receive an annual fee of $48,000 and be paid bi-weekly for said services. With City Commission approval, the one-year contract shall become effective July 1st, 2019, and expire on June 30th, 2020. The contract has been reviewed by the city attorney and the contractor.
Comments, questions? Commissioner Menser?
I'm going to say the same thing. I would really like to see at Mr. Farron's choice, some hours in the evening and some hours on Saturday to make inspections easier. It has nothing to do with quality of work or quantity of work. It has to do with making things easier for residents.
Okay, duly noted. Anyone else? Roll call, please.
Menser.
No.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
9D, approve purchase and payments of invoices. Need a motion?
Move to approve purchases and payment of invoices as presented.
Support.
Are there any questions, comments? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Campbell.
Yes.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Consent agenda. Need a motion?
Move to approve consent agenda as presented.
Support.
Okay, roll call, please.
Dempsey.
Yes.
Ford.
Yes.
Fournier.
Yes.
Crop.
Yes.
Menser.
Yes.
Campbell.
Yes.
City managers report.
The Clinton River Watershed Council, together with the City of Mount Clemens, Advancing Macomb, and Simple Adventures, will be holding the official opening and ribbon cutting of the kayak launch at MacArthur Park on Thursday, June 20th, 2019 at 1 p.m. We would like to extend our sincere thanks to all of those who took part in the crowdfunding campaign and who contributed to make this exciting new addition possible. The annual fireworks display will take place on the west side of the riverbank on Friday, June 28, 2019 at dusk. Prior to the fireworks, there will be a concert sponsored by Oakland University Macomb featuring the band Nightline. Candidate packets for the office of mayor and city commission for the November 5th, 2019 city election are available in the city clerk's office. The application and petition filing deadline is on Tuesday, July 23rd, 2019 at 4 p.m. please contact the city clerk's office at 586-469-6818 for further information. All Mount Clemens residents have been invited to take part in Jimmy John's Field City Nights by attending the City of Mount Clemens Night on Wednesday, July 24th, 2019. Gates open at 6 p.m. and game time is at 7:05 p.m. Any resident will receive $4 off any grandstand tickets by using promo code Mount Clemens 19. For ticket information, call 248-601-2400 or visit www.uspbl.com. Jimmy John's Field is located at 7171 Auburn Road in Utica.
Thank you. Any questions? City Manager? Okay. Commissioner comments? Commissioner Campbell?
I would like to
Between
thank
Roger,
Mr. Salberry for coming to our meeting here tonight and letting us know that revenue sharing to the cities is going to be increased in light of the fact that they had gone down for so many years. So that is good news. And hopefully that he'll be able to work on some of these other suggestions that have been given to him. So thank you for coming.
Commissioner Kraft?
The only thing I have tonight is I'll have my annual coffee talks Tuesday, June 11th, and Thursday, June 13th. The Tuesday is at 9:30 a.m. at John's Family Grill. Thursday is evening, so if you work during the day, come out and join us at 6:30 p.m. Hopefully you can all make it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fournier?
I want to give a thanks to the DDA, especially Mickey, for preparing the site, if you will, by the fire department for the annual Memorial Day celebration of our veterans. It was a very moving ceremony. First they have one at Clinton Grove, and then they come by the fire department, which if many of you know, and if you don't know, go take a look, that you can have a brick inscribed for a veteran with their branch of service and the time that they served. And it's a very short ceremony, but it's a very moving ceremony, and the VFW, the American Legion, the AMVETS, all of these gentlemen and ladies come out and to pay respects, and it was including my father, who's now 90 years old and came out as part of the Legion. But it was a very, very beautiful ceremony. But thank you, Mickey, for cleaning it up beforehand and making sure everything was there. It was very, very nice. I do want to address, I didn't plan to, but I don't want people to leave this meeting or anyone who watches this. There was some confusion in this budget, no question, and we talked about it. The city, as every government organization does, uses a lot of allocations when they're doing their accounting. It's a pain in the neck. I'm an accountant, okay, I'm a CPA, and I hate allocations. But in doing this allocation, one salary was not allocated properly. And when the budget was presented and out there for everyone to see, it did look as if there was going to be an increase in the city manager's salary. That was subsequently changed. We went back to the allocation, the same allocation that was there last year, so there is no increase. And if you were following from the last couple of meetings, we had a work session tonight to talk about how to take care of some of the excess funds that change resulted in and where they should go. So it was a mix-up, and we have taken care of it, and there is, even if everyone deserves one, Lisa, Ms. Borges is not getting a big raise this year. Sorry. Thank you, everyone.
Commissioner Ford? Sorry.
Today I had the privilege to go to the Mount Clemens water treatment plant. Wastewater?
Wastewater.
Yeah, it was waste. There was a lot of waste there. I wish you could see it. There is a lot of effort that goes into cleaning up your city's water. The people that work there need to be thanked. They do an excellent job.
Thank you. Commissioner Menser?
So the Mount Clemens Optimist Club is very thankful and excited that we have the new Joy Club at Mount Clemens High. We're really looking forward to doing some good things with you. I think we talked about at our last meeting buddy benches. For those of you who don't know what buddy benches are, these are benches in a playground or a schoolyard for kids that need some attention. Somebody's feeling lonely, somebody doesn't have anybody to play with, somebody's sad. And so children will be trained when they see somebody on that bench to go talk to them, to go ask them to join them, to go play with them. So we're looking forward to partnering with the group from Mount Clemens High and getting some of these benches throughout the city. I think it's a great thing. So we're happy you're coming aboard. I want to remind you that June 6th, Thursday, is the 75th anniversary of D-Day. D-Day was the largest amphibious invasion in the world history. 150,000 soldiers from the U.S., from Britain, and from Canada, backed by 7,000 ships and over 8,000 aircraft, stormed the Nazi-held beaches of Normandy. This invasion was led by General Dwight D. Eisenhower. And I just want to remind you that we should always be thankful for our military and their fight to preserve our democracy and our freedom. And so if you have some time on that day, just think about what our military has done for us. Michigan State University Community Music School is putting together a program for music and movement for children ages 3 to 4. It is free. It's going to be at the Washington School up on North Rose. It is going to be, they're going to have songs and chants and creative movement and instrument playing. Music and movement has been shown to help children develop readiness for learning, such as attention and social skills. The parent and caregivers must be with them. Again, it's free. It's run by the Morning Star Early Learning Center. Class begins this week, Wednesday, from 6:30 to 7:15 p.m. You can call 313-578-9716 to reserve a spot for your child. It's going to be really great. And for those of you that are interested in climate change, the Citizens Climate Education and the League of Women Voters in Macomb County are presenting a free film highlighting climate change and who's been on the front lines and what they're doing to stop this. It'll be held at the North Branch of the Clinton Macomb Public Library. That's on 24 Mile Road on June 18th, which is a Tuesday at 6:30. And thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. First, I'd like to thank Bill Sowerby for coming. I appreciate it, and I know that you're looking out for our best interest up there. Coming from local government and county government, you have a good background to know what we are going through, and so we appreciate what you're doing for us. Secondly, Jimmy John's, July 24th. We want to have a great showing from Mount Clemens, and we're going to work on something, hopefully, I'm looking at Mickey with the TDA, that maybe we can even, I'm not going to promise, so don't hold me to this, because, I'll be in trouble. Maybe get a bus, maybe get something going here in town that we all can go out to Jimmy John's. I understand if you get so many, this is kind of a competition between different cities. The group, which group was it? Our Thursday group. Macro, excuse me. Macomb Association of, I can't even remember what they, I swore. Got that one out there. Got that out. I'll get emails, sorry. Anyway, it's a competition. They decided among the different cities to see who can get the most of their residents out. So I think it's going to be kind of fun. I think we can go out on the field also if we get X amount of people there, run the fields, carry the flag, do whatever the just have a really good time. And Mount Clemens t-shirts, we want to really try to get that too. So we'll work on something to get that together. So stay tuned, we'll get it out there, and we hope that everybody can join us, because I think it'd be really fun, and especially all the kids that are doing all the work. Optimist Club, be cool, I think. So stay tuned, and we'll get some more information out to you. So with that, I need a motion to adjourn. Support. All those in favor say aye. Aye.